Everyone, and welcome to this Tech Hub webinar on Industrial Gateway Implementing NodeRED. I hope everyone can hear me. So let's get started. So on today's agenda, programming languages, what they are, and then we're going to take a look at NodeRED. Why do we need NodeRED, and why we chose to use NodeRED. And then NodeRED in an operational technologies environment or industrial networking environment. And then we're going to take a look at some of the platforms that you could use to run NodeRED on. And then I'm going to go into the basics of NodeRED, what the editor page looks like, and what the dashboard looks like. Then I'll go into a live demonstration showing you how to connect your inputs and outputs to cloud services, as well as getting data from PLCs or remote I/O stations, etc. So to understand NodeRED, you first need to understand a little bit about programming and programming languages and how they work and what they're used for. So in the world, there are many different types of programming languages, each with their own unique features, such as HTML, JavaScript, Pascal, Cobalt, C, C++, C#, Java, etc. Now, all these different programming languages have their own way of or syntax that we use to program our programs and to do certain things. Now, these different programming languages each need a different type of programming environment that we need to use to be able to successfully program our application and to deploy our applications. Now, each language also has a specific use case depending on the application for which it is intended. So typically, something like Cobalt, which was widely used, a very old programming language, but very widely used for financial services and payment services. HTML, as you're all, I'm certain, aware, are used to provide you with a web page. JavaScript, running in the background of an HTML web page to determine how that web page responds to user inputs, etc. So as you can see, different programming languages have different places and different needs and different uses. Now then, why do we need NodeRED, or why is there such a thing as NodeRED? So NodeRED is basically a platform for collecting and processing data remotely or locally. It helps us to easily publish to cloud platforms for analytics or machine learning, and it enables us to connect our machines and devices that were not previously able to connect to other platforms, to give them a way to connect to platforms such as a Google Cloud Service platform, or even Microsoft Azure or AWS, for some examples. And then in some cases, NodeRED will also enable us to enable remote control without the need for SCADA applications or PLC hardware, etc. So taking a look at NodeRED in an industrial environment, recently NodeRED's user base has improved the available nodes substantially, and this enables us to connect to devices such as Allen Bradley PLCs, Siemens PLCs, or even Modbus systems. And this is very useful when you want to push data or publish data to cloud platforms or other services. It enables us to collect data from PLCs, which is going to be critical for the implementation of industrial Internet of Things for applications such as machine learning and database storage, etc. So converting data from databases to legacy control systems are also made possible using NodeRED. Let's say, for example, you wanted to connect an old S5 Siemens CPU to the cloud. NodeRED would be able to assist us in doing that by using specific nodes within NodeRED. So now let's take a look at where specifically you would be able to run NodeRED. So MOX's UC series of industrial computers are the ideal platform for running applications like NodeRED. It gives us the ability to create an edge type solution where some of your processing is on the edge, meaning it's on site next to the PLC. It does some processing for you and then enables you to publish that data to other services or cloud platforms. NodeRED can also be run on x86 based computers, meaning stuff like Intel chipsets. And this is true for the MC, B series, and DA series of industrial computers. Now let's take a look at some of the UC range of computers that we can use to run NodeRED on. So here we've got the UC 2100 series. These are very small and compact industrial edge computers. If you're familiar with MOX's products and you know about the import, the smallest UC is the 2100 series, which is the same size as an import, which makes it a very small form factor, can be installed in very small spaces. It enables us with a range of different CPU types and memory, as well as networking interfaces. So as you can see, the 2101, one serial port and one LAN port. And that's the smallest UC that we have. Then we've got a little bit of bigger one, or the same size actually, but it comes with 2 LAN ports. Then we've got the 2104. It's got a LAN port, mini PCI Express socket for wireless capability, meaning you can add a mini PCI Express wireless module to this unit, give it either wireless or cellular connectivity. Then we've also got the 2 ports, serial port UC2111 with 2 LAN ports as well as a micro SD card socket. And then we've got our 2 port, 2 LAN port, 2 serial port, 2 LAN port, 2112. Going on with the 2100 series, we've got the 2114 and 2116. These computers have the ability, has built-in LTE capability, as well as 2 serial ports, 2 CAN bus ports, and 2 LAN ports as well. So making this ideal for generator monitoring or vehicle monitoring purposes as well. And then the 2116 is also able to have the LTE connectivity as well as a built-in GPS module, again with the 2 serial ports and 2 CAN bus ports and 2 LAN ports. So as you can see, very compact units with a lot of features packed into them. Then we get to our UC 3100 series, DIN-rail mount device. And these devices come with a higher frequency clock as well as more RAM. And they come with built-in LTE as well as the 3111 coming with built-in LTE and Wi-Fi. And then we've got the 3121, which has got CAN bus port as well as LTE and Wi-Fi. Then we get to our 5100 series, ideal for building automation or factory automation applications, again with a higher CPU clock, and comes with 4 serial ports and built-in digital input and output channels, dual LAN, SD card, and USB. You've also got a model incorporating wireless in the 5102. Then the 5111 has got a dual CAN bus port built in, and then with the 5112, we've got a dual CAN bus as well as a mini PCI Express slot for wireless connectivity. All these models have a wide temperature version, which allows it to be installed in a wider temperature range application. Then we get to our 8100 series, ARM-based computer, with a 1 gigahertz processor, 2 serial ports, 2 LAN ports, SD card socket, mini PCI Express, as well as a wide temperature range. And then the 2112, also coming with LTE Cat 4 built in, as well as 2 serial ports, 2 LAN ports, and the SD card socket. So let's take a look at Mozza's development of Mozza Industrial Linux and the need for a custom distribution of Linux. So typically you would find the Linux Foundation only supports their releases for up to 3 years. So Mozza has gone a step further and said, okay, new feature support will be for the first 3 years, but for 10 years onwards from there, you would be getting bug fixes and security patches on your Mozza Industrial Linux, making it superior for long-term support. Okay, so that is the hardware that you can run NodeRED on. So let's take a look at some of the NodeRED basics and the platform that we use to develop our programs on. So NodeRED has 2 important parts to it. You've got Node.js and JavaScript. So Node.js is the actual programming language behind NodeRED, and then, JavaScript is the programming language behind NodeRED, and Node.js is the platform that it runs on. So Node.js is a JavaScript runtime platform, and this allows us to create asynchronous programming, meaning we can actually edit code while the code is running. So it also enables us to run code without the need, or run a function without the need to wait for that function to complete. Once that function has been started executing, you could then go ahead and start the next function, making it much more memory efficient. JavaScript is the programming language behind NodeRED, and it is also used to define the behavior of a web page, as I said before. So Node.js and JavaScript combined gives NodeRED the ability to be a browser-based programming platform. So here are some of the nodes and a little flow example as well. So NodeRED is actually a collection of predefined nodes. And these nodes are then wired together through a flow-based editor, making it possible to connect certain services or devices together to give us a application. Each node has a specific function that it runs to perform its actions. So like, for instance, in this example, we've got an injection node, which will inject a true Boolean value into that debug node. Then users can create their own nodes as well, and this can be made public and shared with the open source community. So if you have a need to connect something and there aren't any nodes available, you could use JavaScript to then go ahead and develop your own node to connect to that specific device or service. And then additional nodes can also be installed on NodeRED. These nodes are provided by the NodeRED community and the open source community at large, and gives us additional functionality that aren't necessarily incorporated into NodeRED. So first off, let's take a look at the basics of each node. So you'll get input type nodes, which are nodes that gets data from outside of the flow and makes it available for other nodes or for the flow. So in this example, I used an MQTT input node, and this node would be subscribing to a topic from a MQTT broker, and this will then forward that message or the MQTT message from that broker into the flow, and you could then use that data and process it on your NodeRED. Then we get to our output nodes. Now, output node is a node that sends data or information out of the flow. out to other programs, devices, or services. So in this example, I'm outputting to a gauge, and this gauge is then displayed on the NodeRED dashboard. So taking the data through the flow and then pushing it out to our dashboard. Then we get other function nodes, and these nodes perform specific functions to process the data that you received in the node and then output that information through the flow. So in this example, there's a range node that we use, and this node can then convert, let's say, a value from 0 to 10 to 0 to 100, for example. And then we get configuration nodes. These nodes typically aren't seen on your flow, and they provide your nodes with the parameters that they need to perform their function. So in this example, there's an SNMP node, configuration node, and this node is used to configure the connection to an SNMP agent or device that you're requesting SNMP information from. So typically, you would find a configuration node for connecting to a PLC, to a Modbus device. You would also find configuration nodes for MQTT as well. To set up the connection to your cloud service, you would need that configuration node for MQTT. And then each node is a predefined JavaScript package or function that we call into the NodeRED flow. Let's take a look at the NodeRED editor. So on the left, you'll see a list of all your nodes that are available once you've installed NodeRED or started the NodeRED application and opened up your browser to view the editor. And on the left-hand side, you'll see a couple of nodes. There's the SNMP nodes that I spoke of, also some file storage nodes and some PLC nodes as well. There's the dashboard nodes that we can use and also the Modbus nodes. So quite a wide list of functions that we can use within our flow to perform the actions that we need. Taking a look at our editor, let's see how we edit the flow. So you would click and drag a node from your nodes pane into your flow, and then you can double click on a node to open its properties and adjust the properties as you need it. So in this example, I'm just using an inject node to inject a Boolean true value into the flow. And then you click done, and that node is now added and configured. And I want to debug this node. I want to see that information in NodeRED or in my editor, and I'll wire the two nodes together. There's no need to configure the debug node. I deploy my code or my flow, and I can go ahead and hit that true icon over there, and it will inject a true value into the flow. Taking a look at the NodeRED dashboard, here's an example of our office building automation system. We are running this NodeRED on a DA computer in our server room, and we are monitoring, this is the power into the building, and we also monitor our server room's status information such as the temperature and humidity to ensure that our servers are running at low enough temperatures and not overheating. So just a quick example of what a dashboard could look like in NodeRED once you are done with your development. Okay, so that brings me to the end of my presentation. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and log into my NodeRED installed on a UC computer. And then I'll show you how easy it is to configure something like MQTT, for example, pushing data to an MQTT broker and then subscribing to another topic, as well as the ability to connect to a Modbus device, for example. And then I'll show you some other features as well to simplify things. So let me go into NodeRED. Now, to access your NodeRED, you just need to type the IP address of the device that is running your NodeRED instance. In my case, this would be 192.168.127.140. And then there's a specific port number for the NodeRED service. So in this case, it's 1880. You can change this port, but that we will deal with in a later webinar or video. So you go ahead and enter that IP address and port number into your browser, and it will open up the flows that you've created already. And as you can see, I've got a couple of flows there already running a test for another customer. So to add a flow, you simply click on this add flow icon over here, and it will add a new empty flow window like this. And you can go ahead and start editing that flow to do the things that you need to do. So let's say, for example, I want to send a message to an MQTT broker. I'm going to enter a inject node. Now, this node only controls from inside the flow. I'll show you later on how to set up a dashboard node. So in this example, once you've dragged the node into your flow, you can then double click on that node and it will open up the properties and you can change what you want to send. So in my case, let's just say I want to send a Boolean true value. Then I click done. Now I've set that the properties for that injection node. Now I want to send this data to an MQTT broker. So I want an MQTT out node. So I go to the network pane in the nodes and I select my MQTT out node and I drag and drop it into my flow. Now I double click this node to edit the properties. The first thing you need to do is you need to add the server. Now this is where the configuration node comes in. So if you click on this little pencil, it will take you to that configuration node for that MQTT broker or that MQTT node. So then you enter the information for your MQTT broker. I'm running the broker locally on my PC, but this broker could also be on a cloud platform such as Google Cloud Services, Microsoft Azure, or even Amazon Web Services. And then, or even some private MQTT brokers such as Cloud MQTT or MQTT High. So I enter the IP address for my MQTT broker, which is my local IP address, and I leave the default port number as I'm using the default port. If you've set up security on your broker, you would then need to enter the username and password for that broker as well. You can also enable TLS and SSL encryption to encrypt the data in your MQTT publish and subscribe messages. Okay, so I've set up this MQTT broker node already. Now I can go ahead and enable a topic. So let's say, for example, I want to send NodeRED out. So this is my topic that I'm defining for this MQTT message. I click done, and now this MQTT node would be able to send to my MQTT broker. Now all I need to do is I need to wire the two together and hit deploy. Deploy deploys the code, and as you can see, my MQTT broker, it's showing a status of connected. That means my node is connected to my local MQTT broker. Now I'm using MQTT-FX, which can also subscribe and publish to messages as well as being a broker. So I now need to subscribe to that message. So I go ahead and type NodeRED out. I subscribe to that, and now I'm subscribed to that topic. Now, whenever I click this true inject over here, I would then see that there's a message, NodeRED out, and if I scroll down, I can see the value true has been sent to my broker. Now, I can also publish to a topic. Let's say, for example, I drag and drop a publish node, I use the same broker, and now I say NodeRED in. Click done, and I want to see it in my debug pane on NodeRED. I drag that debug node in and I wire them together. Now to see the actual code, I need to deploy. As you can see, it's connected. And let me go back to my MQTT-FX and I type in NodeRED/in. This will be case sensitive. And if I publish hello NodeRED, I can see in my debug pane that the message came into my NodeRED flow. So fairly simple to connect your NodeRED to a cloud platform or a cloud service. Now, let me show you some examples of PLC nodes. Here I've got a PLC node for Ethernet IP. So to use this node, I could drag and drop it into my flow. I double click on the node, and then I need to add a PLC endpoint. So I go ahead and click this pencil icon again, and I type the IP address for my PLC. It's very important with Allen Bradley to enter the right name. This is the name that you gave your PLC when you created the project. In my example, this would be SNMP_test. So this creates a connection to a PLC that that's already existing. I've already configured that PLC, and now I can go ahead and select a tag in the PLC. So to create tags, you first need to go to the tag section under your connection settings or your properties for your Ethernet IP endpoint, and I need to create a tag. Input, and I need to define what type of input or output, sorry. I need to define what type of output that is. Let's say, for example, it's a Boolean output. And now I can go ahead and select that tag, and I would be able to then read that tag from the PLC if it were created in the PLC, and I would then be able to use that data in NodeRED as well. Now, just want to deploy that. Let me show you how to import or export your flows. So you can export specific flows like the current flow. You can export all the flows, and you could simply download or copy this to a clipboard. So if you click the download button, you could save the file, and it will save it as flows.json, for example, and you can save that file on your computer. As you can see, I'm seeing a little bit of errors there. I just want to delete this configuration node, hit deploy, and all the errors should go away. Good. Now, obviously, all the nodes aren't always or aren't ready and available with a fresh install of NodeRED. So you would typically find the need to go ahead and install new nodes. So to install a new node, you go to this menu again, you select Manage Palette, and then you go ahead to the Install tab. Now, as you can see, there are more than 2,500 nodes available. And let's say, for example, I now want to connect to a Siemens PLC. I've just typed Siemens to check if someone posted a Siemens node. And we can see that this node has been updated 3 months ago, so fairly recently. And if I want to see more information about this node, I could click this arrow out icon over here, and it will take me to the NodeRED website where it explains how to install the node and how to use this node. So as you can see, there's the default addressing scheme for Siemens's PLCs. I could go back to my node, I confirm that this is the node that I need, and I can click install. Now it will ask me installing NodeRED contribution S7. Please read the nodes documentation, etc. Once I've done that, I could hit install, and this will start the process of installing this node in the background. Once the node is installed, it will actually refresh my NodeRED instance, and it will add the nodes to the relevant pane in my node section on my editor. Just wait for it to finish installing. Currently, this UC is using a cellular connection to the internet for connecting to the NodeRED repository to download extra nodes. If your device or your NodeRED, the computer running NodeRED is not connected to the internet, you won't be able to install it using this procedure. Just give it a few more seconds to complete installing the node. And it will give us a message here at the top showing that it's successfully installed and the amount of nodes that it added to my NodeRED. You can also view a log of the process that it's installing the node for. And there you can see the nodes are added to my palette. And here I can now start incorporating a Siemens PLC into my NodeRED. What's nice about the Siemens node, it actually uses the Profinet interface to communicate with the PLC. So you don't need any special blocks or anything to connect to your PLC. The only thing that you need to have is you need to enable unprotected access to your PLC to be able to get data from that PLC. Okay, so I just want to show you another quick feature. If you need to create some sort of custom function in your node or in your flow, you can then go ahead and create that function, and you can even save that function to a library. As you can see, I've saved this get client Mac function in my library for later use as well. So very versatile and very user-friendly. And that is it. So let me go back to my presentation. That's my story, guys. So do you have any questions? Let's go through them. You're more than welcome to unmute yourself and ask some questions, and I will be happy to answer them for you. Okay. Clive says he's learned 3 new techniques so far. That's great. NodeRED is very versatile. I'm also still learning. It's a great platform to use. Prince is asking, how do you address UC's I/OS, analogs and discretes? Prince, I'm not sure I understand what you mean. Could you elaborate a bit?
Hello.
Yes, Prince, how are you?
Good, good.
Nice.
I just wanted to find out, how do you address your input and output signals using NodeRED?
Okay.
For
which platform?
For one of your UCS units, if it's running on one of your devices that have analog inputs and outputs.
Okay, I see what you mean. So like, for example, the 5100 series with built-in digital inputs and outputs, for example.
Exactly, yes.
Okay, that's a tricky one. We are actually working on developing our own nodes for addressing built-in I/O in the I/O things. And it would be I'm assuming it would be a similar type of scenario where we would use the either the C++ or Python scripts available for those devices to then get access to those input and output addresses, and then incorporate that into NodeRED. So we are busy with development on that. I'm not 100% sure on the UC specifically with the built-in one, but I do know we are working with developing a node for the IO things, the 4533 unit specifically. Does that answer your question?
On the previous slides, you showed a couple of hardware that runs NodeRED.
Yes.
Yeah, on those slides. And I think there were some of the hardwares that you showed that have input and output signals.
Yes, like this one, for example.
Yes.
Like I said,
yes, like that one.
We would be required to develop a node or develop the code to access this using JavaScript. Because Moxa developed the code with C and Python. So we have Python examples of getting to these digital inputs and outputs, but we don't have JavaScript examples. So we need to develop that code to be able to access that in NodeRED specifically.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any more questions? Sorry, let me just bring up my chat again. Okay, Bianca is asking, this NodeRED system, is it a free system or how we get this on our system? Okay, so the actual software is free. We do install it on our units as a service for our customers. If they don't have the knowledge or don't know how to install it, we could definitely install it for you as an add-on with the unit when you order them. So just specify when you order one of these UC computers or one of our industrial computers that you need NodeRED installed, and we would gladly install it for you. Any more questions? Thanks, Rob. Yes, we will come back to you, Prince, on that IO. We will definitely look into getting that information into NodeRED. All right, so what's next? Sorry, Rob?
The back one.
Yes.
So we use NodeRED very successfully for many customers that have got unique solutions. We're busy with a customer right now. I think Johan just showed you the one little flow there, where the customer requires to connect to our radios, our AWK radios, and have the information information available in a Rockwell Ether IP PLC.
Correct.
And so we've developed this flow in front of you right now that allows a customer to actually read which clients are connected to the AP via their MAC address, and allow them to then decide who's on the radio, who should be on the radio, and decide what control is having. And so this was only capable of doing this is either by a lot of PLC coding,
yes,
which was quite complex, or by using a NodeRED, one of our UC computers, and having a nice flow. So this is actually a working flow. It was tested yesterday, and we're able to actually publish, read, and subscribe, or read and write into an LM PLC. And we can do this for Siemens. We can do this for Schneider PLC. So it makes it very versatile. We have done work for customers, examples of where a customer needed to take a flow meter, it was a Modbus TCP or Modbus RTU flow meter, and publish it to the cloud, but you don't want to publish it continuously. Only want to publish average to the cloud, and we're able to take that information for the customer as well and do an average block and only publish the average flow for the customer for his application. So NodeRED is very, very, very flexible, very, very when it comes to creating different engineering examples. It's a great piece of software.
Yes.
By the way, when we install the software, we call it UC Connect. So you can also ask your salesperson to give you a price on the UC Connect option, which is a UC with pre-installed NodeRED that we do for you then.
Correct. Thank you so much, Rob. Okay, so let's go ahead. What's next, guys? Join us on Thursday, the 1st of May for RPC Connect, our own industrial panel PC, and we'll take you through some of the unique features and capabilities of these computers, as well as the hardware available with these computers. So stay tuned with us. Remember, guys, stay safe. For quotes, contact Brigitte, as well as orders. For accounts, contact Kim, and to get into contact for technical support, don't hesitate to contact me. Thank you, everybody, for joining, and we hope to see you in the next one.